Have you ever heard of an NDE?
NDE, never heard of it.
It's near-death experience.
Oh, okay.
I have been fascinated lately with these. I don't even know how I came upon it. A couple videos, I guess, got served to me on YouTube one time, and I just watched one like, well, what are they talking about? And now I am addicted to hearing about people's near-death experiences, which years ago, I always heard the term near-death experience and thought it was somebody almost died. You know, they narrowly escaped something that almost killed them. Their life flashed before their eyes, but they were okay. That's not what this is. This is somebody died. They actually died. They were considered dead for a length of time that typically would be like, there's no way you should have come back. You were dead that long. And they describe what they experienced while dead. And it's fascinating. Have you ever seen any of these videos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Do you in any way, shape, or form think that these people possibly have either been to some alternate dimension, place, time, something that they are seeing and experiencing things that are true and we just don't know anything about it? Or a lot of times people will say, oh, it's your brain waves, it's brain activity coming to a halt, it's all these physical things happening. Even though the doctor was like, you had no brain activity, your heart was stopped, you know, yada, yada, yada. And some of these stories are so similar, too. There's differences, but the main themes are so similar that it's like, did they all get together or watch each other's videos and just make up stories to go along with it? Or is there something really happening here?
So I'm going to give you a conflicting response because I like both of these and they conflict a little bit.
Okay.
So the first thing is like being alive. It's not something I think like you get to 90 years and you just check out and you become nothing. Like you and what you are is going to take another form somewhere. Your energy is going to get deposited
Your soul,
in
so to
something
speak.
else. Your soul,
Yeah.
Because you know, this is not your vessel, it's not yours. It's just a vessel that you carry through. And what makes you just join something, whether it's here in another dimension, you go be somewhere else. This is just a temporary experience. So something happens, I don't know what it is. The second conflicting side of it is when you die, like your brain and your body is a pharmacy. The amount of chemicals that your body would produce. Have you ever been like really injured?
Injured?
Like injured?
Like bleeding, like like I've given birth. I don't know if you'd consider that injured, but that's probably an incredibly painful, weird experience.
So I would bet that if you gashed your hand, it would hurt more than if you cut your hand off, right?
I've heard things like that.
Right. Because the body is designed to give you responses to keep you from getting injured more. I think the body's designed that when you're suffering or being tortured or you're dying, it just gives you the feel nothing chemicals, or the nerves don't even give you enough feedback because you're beyond what, you know, it's almost like I want you to not touch the hot stove, but once you're there, I want you to not feel the torture that is the worst pain beyond that, right? And
At the time, yeah. I knew a guy, he hit his arm with a chainsaw, not off, but cut himself. And he said it took noticeable like time, several seconds to bleed or feel anything.
Right.
And then it was like, ah!
So I think when you're on death's door like that, your brain just gives you all of the numb chemicals along the way of make you, you know, totally out of your mind. And I think when you visit, and honestly, I think even when you're not hurt, if you take some non-body pharmaceuticals, you can get to a place where you can have experiences that are outside of what you experience every day. You get to connect with those dimensions and things that you don't quite understand in a different mathematical way.
So how do you know then so is there a difference then between connecting to these other dimensions or these other very real things and like dreaming, for example? You know, how do you know in the event of this horrific accident, you weren't unconscious and dreaming, but you were experiencing something else?
Yeah, and how do you know that every time you dream, you don't get to visit the dimensions that you can't see on this plane?
Yeah.
You really don't. And it's like I said, it's interesting, and I think we do have a connection through when we are no longer conscious when we sleep, or no longer conscious when we're dead. We extend and go out, but we come back at when we wake up.
And some of these people, and again, it's all in, do you believe they're telling the truth or not? We can't prove it, obviously, but a lot of them are saying, they floated above their body or whatever. If it was a scenario that it was like an operating table or something, they heard the conversations between medical staff, and you said to do this, and they said, but what about this? And then he said this, and he said this, and they would come back and tell the people. They're like, well, you were probably hallucinating. And he's like, I was unconscious. You said this, and then you said this, and they can tell everybody what they saw. One woman said she saw her stepdad in the hallway getting a candy bar out of the vending machine, and like it checks out that they would have never known that. How did they know that kind of thing? And again, maybe they're lying. Maybe they're telling a story. I don't know. But do you think that there is potential for that?
I think there's information in that, because I think, like we invent ghosts, right? Mm-hmm. And we give them human form, speech, like they don't have a body anymore. But still, we don't know. Like if I gave you a pill and said your soul can decouple with you and do whatever it does when you're sleeping, but you can do it on command. So it leaves your body and does some stuff. We don't know the capabilities of the soul when it doesn't have sensory organs. Like it wouldn't need to hear, it wouldn't need to taste, it wouldn't need to touch or see things, because it doesn't have those organs anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it can see those fifth and sixth dimensional things that our normal bodies can't see. And the connection to information of what someone said didn't have to be heard and translated. They just knew everything. So it could very easily be that.
Yes, almost all of them have said they all believe they went to heaven and were experiencing either an angel or Jesus or God or somebody of that nature. They all say, I feel very with it, very aware, just like I am now, but I don't see a body. It's just my conscious. They'll say that somebody or a being said something, but not literally. There are no vocal cords. They just know. They said everything is like telepathic. They just know things. They'll think of a question, the answer's given to them, and that's how like the communication is. They've said that colors are beyond what we even recognize colors to be. They are just so vibrant. Feelings are more than we're used to feeling. I mean, just like the description is incredible, but so many people are saying the same things that it's like, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if I gave you the ability to see the full spectrum of everything that was happening, what would the world look like? You remember we were talking about Neuralink, where I could pass an idea to you without having to translate it into words, and you having to hear it and then retranslate it back into a concept and an idea. I could send you the idea all in one step, right? Mm-hmm. What if, jujitsu, like in the Matrix, I can teach you jujitsu by you plugging in for 2 seconds, and the idea of jujitsu just goes to your head, and now you know. So you have infinite access to information that is all at one time. You don't have to have time now to learn jujitsu. You can learn jujitsu in instantaneous. So when you jump out of your consciousness of your body, you just know all things all at one time.
Yeah.
So you can experience an entire lifetime, because it didn't take any time out of that, right? You just had instant access. So if you could have died for 1 second and had all of the available information all in one bit, and then return to your body, you would definitely know more than other people, because you saw all information all at one bit.
And it was interesting too. A lot of them described this feeling of, it almost felt like they were waking up from a dream. Just as like if you have surgery and you wake up from it, or you have a dream and you wake up from it and it seemed like this blip, but now you're back in reality. They said that feels like reality, feels like home, feels like where they've always been. They were just sent here for this blip of time, and now they're back. So many people said it felt like that.
You know what the coolest thing about this is, though?
What?
People have been contemplating this for all of the time that they've been alive. They've invented religions, they've invented cultures, they've invented relationships, all based on trying to figure out things that they don't know and understand.
Yes.
So when you're curious about what happens or what is, you can use your instinct and imagination to go say, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. But all of the philosophy from, Aristotle, Socrates, at the end of the day, didn't give you the answer because there is no answer to be gotten. So it is a perpetual, infinite mystery.
Until one day.
Until one day. Until we go to the Bermuda Triangle and figure it all out.
Promise me this, Joe.
Yeah.
If God forbid something ever happens to you, God forbid, come back and tell me what happens. If you can,
What if that's
in
not
any
possible?
way.
What if
If
coming
it's
back?
possible.
What if it's so awesome where time doesn't exist anymore and you don't have to come back to anything? Why would you?
Well, first of all of them, every single one I watched said they did not want to come back. They were told, you've got to come back. It's not your time. There's more for you to do, yada, yada, yada. They all were like, screw that. Like, it's so much better here than there. Why would I go back there? So I don't mean like come back alive and tell me. I mean, if you're a spirit or in another dimension, find a way to reach out and I'll document it, and vice versa.
Man, if you could go to the dimension and never be able to come back, and everything you ever knew was gone, time was erased,
Oh
and
my
you're
God.
in a perpetual vacuum of nothingness.
That's your heaven, isn't it?
Oh my God.
That is your heaven.
Buy a ticket right now. Right now.